Hello again. This is Jim Kelvarn with another episode of Kelvarn Pondering. Today, I'm actually going to talk about Captain Marvel, the controversy, probably a little bit of the Rotten Tomatoes, but I'm also here to address where I think Geeks and Gamers, the courtroom, and that Star Wars girl get a couple of things wrong. Before I get into that, let me point out, yes, I am a fan of all three of them. I'm glad they've picked up, in some ways, the anti-SJ narrative that's been needing to be said. Having said that, there are some points that definitely need to be addressed with them. First off, a lot of what they say when it comes to the feminism, the social justice, is actually correct. As someone who's been dealing with this since before Gamergate, I will say yes, these people are actually pushing the feminist narrative with Captain Marvel. This is easily seen, not just in the marketing, but also a little bit in their choice of actress. The fact that the comments made came before Captain Marvel. So you can see that this actually played into their decision. Disney knew what they were doing, casting her. You look at some of the things that they said in the leaks. You know, that there are possibly two different cuts, that people have been pushing to get her in there. Yes, this is pushed. The same thing happened with The Last Jedi and Star Wars, Kathleen Kennedy pushing feminism. This is something I think you three get wrong. This is the whole point. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to push this. They're trying to push feminism onto people. Beyond that, you guys do get a lot of things. I applaud all three. However, Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers, there's another specific thing I need to address with you. You have several times called Captain Marvel a low-rate character, and I would completely disagree with you in the sense that she is not a low-rate character. She is written poorly. So the people writing the character are doing an absolutely horrible job. As someone who's been a fan of Marvel Comics since the 1970s, in fact, comic books are how I learned to read, I can tell you when she was Miss Marvel and she had an actual grudge against Rogue for stealing her abilities as Miss Marvel, at which point she became powerless and later on became binary, and then eventually got her powers back, became Miss Marvel again, before eventually being upgraded to Captain Marvel. There were points she was actually a very interesting character. Now, you mentioned she's been rebooted like 9 times. Yes, that's to push the feminist narrative, something that they've been trying to do in comics for years. That's part of the reason why I wanted to address this with you, is that's one of the things that I think you get wrong and should actually be informed of. Having said that, you do get a lot of things right when it comes to the movie and how this is eventually going to, I'm not going to say fail. In fact, I would argue anybody who says that this is going to bomb or lose Marvel and by extension Disney money, I would say you're wrong completely. And here's why. It will not lose money because the production value was so low. It will, however, be successful, but not make as much. I would bet it doesn't break the 100 billion or the $1 billion mark total. I do not think that it will actually break more than, say, a 20 to $30 million. Let me walk that back. I would say it will probably make back the money for production, marketing, and all that. Probably not necessarily 2 times over. We'll see a substantial difference between, say, Black Panther, Captain America, Civil War, Spider-Man, any of those others. You will see a drop, but I do think it will actually outdo, say, Ant-Man and Wasp. But it will come out ahead. Now, having said that, if every this is something I would, most people are saying, well, I'm not going to tell you to boycott this movie. No, I would sit there and tell you, I would actually take the stand and tell you to boycott this movie. And this goes to Jeremy at Geeks and Gamers, the Quartering, and Anna. I would be telling people to not go to this movie. The reason being, as I mentioned on one of the three of your videos, I don't remember which, get woke, go broke. We mentioned it. You guys have mentioned it. I've been kind of away for a while. I don't want to get into the culture war as much as I used to. But anyway, getting back on topic. When you mention get woke, go broke, as I mentioned, it's not as effective as people think. In certain cases, yes, get woke, go broke, very true. Marvel Comics has suffered from trying to get woke quite a bit. However, what you notice is because Disney backs them, and Disney has backed them quite a bit, and because of the movie side and the television side, they're not going broke. Marvel Comics is still pumping out comic books. But you will notice a dip in the sales. They noticed a dip in the sales. All of this contributes to it. But as much as I love Marvel Comics, and I've been a fan for most of my life, and as you can tell, I have Captain America's shield as my icon. It is important to note that until get woke, go broke is true 90% of the time, not, okay, you take a little dip and then like Nike and Gillette and even Disney with Soilo, which honestly, as an aside, if They took that movie, did some tweaks, and put it out as a movie all on its own, not tied to Star Wars, it would have been a decent movie. The same issue I had with that is the same issue I had with The Man of Steel. They tried to change the characters too much. You do not change established characters. Okay, but setting that aside, that's why though that's why Solo failed more than anything is because they tried to change the established character. If it was a good movie, and I'll be the first one to sit there and say, if it was a good, true to Star Wars, true to the source material movie, it would have done a lot better than it did. It wasn't. The part of the problem with Captain Marvel is it's again not true to the character, but it's more true to the character currently pushed in or what was recently pushed in comics than it was the actual character. That's why the character has failed several times. My point on this goes to say um, Jessica Jones on Netflix. First season was basically a copy of Alias from the Marvel Max series. It was almost straight out of the comics for several issues. That did well. People applauded. In a lot of ways, it's bad writing, bad storytelling, bad characterization, not bad character, because you can tweak a character. It's bad characterization. Now, when you look at the reviews, and this is more moving on to my discussion with, as far as Captain Marvel. When you look at the reviews, they say, Brie Larson isn't so good. When I see these reviews, part of me sits there and says, is this reverse psychology? If you don't think that Disney isn't looking at how Ghostbusters 2016 failed, how Solo failed, how they've been marketing things, and not gonna sit there and say, well, we did this exact same thing here, they did this exact same thing here. Let's try this. If you don't think they're not doing that, I would sit there and say you're underestimating the intelligence of your opponents. Now, do I think Captain Marvel could have been done well? I would honestly say if they would have taken out the feminism, they would have cast someone better, if they would have been more true to the actual character from, say, the 90s, I honestly believe she would have outdone probably Wonder Woman. Maybe not Black Panther, but she would have outdone Wonder Woman fairly easily. Because when Carol Danvers gets to be Carol Danvers, gets to be basically who she, the character, to a certain degree, yes, you do see strong, independent woman. But you don't see, I hate men and I'm better than men. You just see someone who says, I'm going to go out there, give it everything I've got, and fuck everything else. She can be an interesting character. She is poorly done. And that, in a lot of ways, goes to a lot of things. Midnight's Edge pointed out that Ghostbusters 2016 was nothing more than Paul Feig doing what Paul Feig does, which was making fun of whatever it is, gender swapping and making fun of things. You don't do that and try and make a serious movie, as they tried to do with Ghostbusters 2016. If you make a serious attempt, which I honestly believe this is not a serious attempt at the character. I believe this is just, okay, let's throw this in, placate the feminists. In a lot of ways, I don't even think Disney is actually pushing the SJW narrative so much as it's, let's placate people. If Disney wanted and Marvel wanted to do justice to this character, it would be, she would be on par with some of the top names. The reason why I say that is look at how Daredevil did on Netflix. Look at how Punisher did on Netflix. Luke Cage. And I'm not talking about, second season. Well, first and second season for Daredevil. Punisher's first season. The first season for Luke Cage. What you see is actually well done. Fairly well thought out scripts and long-term thinking. Not just episode by episode, but for the whole story. Iron Fist, you didn't see that as much. Defenders, you actually saw more of it. The Defenders was actually very well done. These are not well-known characters. You go over to Amazon, the Rotten Tomatoes score for that was 88%. You go over to Amazon. Sorry, I have to back up. You go over to Amazon and you look at Cloak and Dagger. The Rotten Tomatoes score for that is 88%. These are not well-known characters, but they're doing better than Brie Larson and Captain Marvel will do. When you stay true to, and getting back to this, when you do a good job, stay true, they will do well. You have to make them interesting. You can't do that with Captain Marvel, throwing out the feminism, throwing out Larson. I will openly say, Brie Larson is not interesting. Some people find her good looking, but she's no better looking than most of the girls in Hollywood. What makes characters, especially heroes, interesting is the drama of overcoming the obstacle. If Brie Larson is Captain Marvel, which I honestly think they're promoting her as the most powerful character in the MCU, as a way to feed Brie Larson's ego. But anyway, moving on from that. If they're going to promote her as the most powerful character, she's not going to have a problem with the Skrulls. The Skrulls are not really that difficult of, of an enemy, a normal Skrull. She's not really facing much of anything. What you'll probably see throughout the whole movie is it's a cakewalk for her. That's what keeps her from being interesting. There is there is no, how do I put this? There's no difficulty. It's not a challenge. At no point are you going to sit there and say, is she going to make it through this? I'm guessing even in the fight with the Super Scroll that I know is going to happen, you're not going to, at no point are you going to be sitting there, is she going to survive? Is it possible she could die? What's going to happen? Throughout the whole thing, it'll pretty much be ho hum, which is why a lot of people are saying it has its good points, it has its bad points, but for the majority of it, it's just meh. It's not a thrill ride. It's not a roller coaster. That's what you want to see in movies: is the ups, the downs, the twists, the turns. That more than anything is why it's going to come close to fail. That more than anything is why it's not going to do well. But what you already see, and this is for those who choose to listen, what you already see is the articles coming out saying, well, you know, we didn't expect it to do very well. That's true. They didn't. They don't expect it to do well. They're not expecting it to do well. They don't want it to do well. If they it to do well, they would have cast it better. They wouldn't have cast somebody who was sitting there making those racist and sexist comments about white males. They would not cast someone who was openly making so many comments about how they want to do it, how this is a feminist movie. And I think the one thing nobody has ever talked about is this stuff was out there. Of course, Disney. Anyway, getting back to the movie. From the moment it came, she came out, she started saying, talking trash. You knew it was, you knew it was done. You know, you have all these articles saying, well, trolls are doing this and that. It's somebody else's fault. You know, that's the victim card. Everybody knows. Everybody who's been a part of the culture war for a few years knows that the victim card comes out as soon as they can. It doesn't work as much as it used to, but it still seems to work with some. You know, back in the days, it was Gamergate, you know, your trolls, alt right, Nazis. Now it's incels. Oh God, it's flipped back around to you can't get laid, which was the excuse back in the 90s. As I said to Anna on one of her videos, this has all happened before. It will all happen again. So my recommendation to everybody who follows the culture war, who's into this stuff and is sick and tired of this, watch for the different strategies they use. As I mentioned on the quarterings video, it's the same thing. They're distracting and then gaslighting. They're saying, well, it's not. They're going to be sitting there saying, it's not Brie Larson's fault. It's the fans' fault. Or it's the misogynistic trolls, or it's the incels. All these people who are hating on this. Our movie would have done so well if not for them. And then when people bring up, well, what about Brie Larson and her comments and all the things she said? That had nothing to do with accusations of misogyny and you're an incel and you can't get laid. This is why I've kind of stepped away from the culture war and I don't want to play the game anymore. But having said that, Anna, Jeremy, please continue on. Continue fighting. Know that those of us who came before are probably still moving you on and still trying to do something to help you out, even if we're not openly supporting you. For now, I just want to say for everybody listening, find out how they do this. Watch for the watch for the similarities. Watch for the things that they do over and over again. Find a way to counter them, and do everything you can to just stop this. Spread the word. Get people to say, we're done with this shit. All right. I've been rambling on for a while. I hope everybody has a wonderful night. To Geeks and Gamers, the quartering, that Star Wars girl. Thank you for continuing the fight. I support you guys as best I can. And to everybody else, remember, take the red pill.